Hello everybody, welcome to Elite Weather Forecasting. I am Mr. G, your meteorologist. Happy Thursday afternoon. It's about late in the day, about the 5 o'clock hour here on your Thursday, and we're going to be getting ready for your Friday. We're going to have a weather forecast for you guys so that you know what to expect out there this evening as you make your way home and engage in your evening activities. And we're going to talk about tomorrow morning, what you're going to see on your way to work and get you through your day, as well as the weekend ahead. We're going to be talking about that weather forecast. Our city of the day is going to be Chicago, Illinois, because Chicago gets to be the city of the day because they are going to have the possibility of some severe thunderstorms in this area today across parts of the upper Midwest. And we're going to take a closer look at their chances for severe weather in our video later on coming up. And as we move on through the video here, as you look at the beautiful city of Chicago out there, there's those clouds in the sky. So it's been a few showers around already. So the roadways are already a bit damp, and we have had some rainfall across much of the upper Midwest as we have a storm system working across the northern tier of the country right now. So let's move on with the rest of the forecast. Take a look at our maps and talk about the rest of the lower 48 and what you're going to see as far as the weather forecast going into the weekend. Okay, so before we continue with the weather forecast, we're going to do some channel, whatever you call it here. We're going to talk about the channel a little bit. Thank you for watching me today. If you're watching on TikTok or YouTube, the channel is slowly growing. We're actually doing pretty good for ourselves, this little channel here. So thank you for rocking with me. Leave your likes, comments. Feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube, or you can leave a follow right there on TikTok and continue the engagement, because the engagement has been awesome. You guys have been leaving your comments and everything like that, so that is good to know. So we're going to move on with the weather forecast right now and talk about what we're going to be seeing out there. Now, Los Angeles has had a ridiculous amount of rainfall over the last several days over the course of this week, and we have saw lots of rainfall out there across the West Coast, and we are looking at the third wettest two-day total of all time across the Los Angeles area, where we have picked up in excess of 7 inches of rain. And we have a monthly total today of 10.2 inches of rain in the Los Angeles area for the month of February. And we are barely within the first week or so of the month. And we have had 10 inches of rain in the Los Angeles area already. So here we are. So we're also going to look at this rainfall that we've received so far, this 10 inches of rain accounts for nearly half of the average rainfall from December to February. Los Angeles averages about 15 inches of rain per year. They've picked up 10.2 inches of rain just for the month of February to this point, which is a bit more than half of the yearly rainfall. So they are doing pretty good. It's actually about 75% of the average rainfall for the month from December through February. To this point in February, we're nearly more than half of the yearly rainfall from a 2-day total. So that is pretty impressive, things considered, in Southern California. So the all-time heaviest 2-day total for the month of February in Los Angeles, the previous total was 6.2 inches, and that was held back in 1913. And the third wettest February day of all time, with that 4.1 inches of rain, that was back on Sunday. And we have the wettest February day in 110 years. And it was also the 10th wettest calendar day of all time in the Los Angeles area. So setting some new standards here across Southern California. Here's a look at the radar across LA and the West Coast right now, and we are seeing that snow moving across Arizona, and we're looking at some very heavy snow up here around Flagstaff, north of the Phoenix area, above the Mogollon Rim, is above that 5,000 foot. So we're seeing that heavy snow near Pine Top, Sholo, and Flagstaff, Keeneman, and so we're going to see that heavy snow moving into southern Utah. So St. George and Park City, all those folks in southern Utah, is going to be getting in on some of that snow as well, and this snow is shifting off to the east, so that's going to be moving into New Mexico. So Albuquerque, you guys are going to be seeing that snow in just a bit along the I-40 corridor there. And here's the forecast for snow that we're going to see still to come across the western Rockies and Sierra Nevada and the Cascades. And we're still are going to be looking at mostly folks picking up 5 to 8 inches. Some of you folks are going to be picking up another 18 to 24 inches. So some 2 feet is going to be possible down here around Telluride, southern Colorado. We're going to see heavier snow, and we're going to see some heavy snow up here across parts of southern Idaho, parts of northwestern Nevada, and we're going to see that 2 feet of snow down here across Arizona as well. Now, some areas are going to pick up some isolated spots here in and around Flagstaff. It's going to pick up about 3 feet of snow. So we have a lot of snow still to come through for the remainder of today and through Sunday. So a lot of snow is going to be falling out there across the Rockies and into the southern Rockies as well. So there was a tornado possibly in California. And this is around San Luis Obispo, Los Osos. We had the potential tornado right about here. And this was back on a couple of days ago where we could have the potential. The National Weather Service hasn't confirmed it yet, but they're going to be headed out there to confirm that potential EF0 tornado. The radar also indicated 75 hundredths of an inch, so 3/4 inch size hail as well was also indicated by the radar with that heavy rain cell, that thunderstorm that moved across Point Conception, Santa Barbara County, where we saw that severe thunderstorm the other day out there. So, and some Midwest type weather across the state of California. So Pismo Beach, we had a potential for a severe weather. We had a severe weather report across Pismo Beach as well, and we saw those winds, those 75 mile per hour winds, and it also had a tornado that potentially tracked across the Pismo Beach area, and it had about a 1.5 mile track across Pismo Beach, where we could see the potential. There was a possible tornado as well, and it did some minor damage in the area. So no folks was injured as a result of that weak tornado, but there was a tornado with some convective activity in the area. So alright, so our storm system that brought all of that exciting weather to Southern California, the heavy rain, the flooding, the severe weather as well, is going to be making its way across the southern plains and across the south and the southeast, and where we're going to be seeing heavy rain and eventually some severe thunderstorms as well moving across the south, and we're going to see this this is going to be taken on through next Tuesday, and we're going to be seeing that potential for heavy rain, and we're going to pick up 2 to 3 inches over a large portion of the deep south here, from Louisiana all the way up into South Carolina and Tennessee and Kentucky, where we're going to be seeing a heavy rain and even some severe thunderstorms, possible tornadoes as well. So we're going to see a nice round of some severe weather with that storm system as it makes its way across the deep south, and that storm is going to play a role in the weather across parts of the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic states, where we could possibly going to take a further examination of that possibility of seeing some heavy snow through parts of maybe New York City, Philadelphia. We might see some heavy snow. Some of the forecast models are trying to indicate that, but there's some pushback as well from some of the other models. So that is very low confidence in that potential for some heavy snow along I-95 there in New York City down through Philadelphia and maybe Baltimore and Washington as well. That is, some of the models like the GFS is trying to indicate that, but the Euro is offering a little bit of a contradiction to it right now, so they're not in complete agreement. They're kind of far apart. The Euro is faster with the system, and it has it further to the south and a little bit warmer as well. So as we look at our next map, this is that course that next storm is going to take across from the southern plains, from Texas all the way up into, by you get to Tuesday, we're going to be seeing that storm off the coast of the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic there. This is where New York City and Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., in this region right here, that low pressure center is going to be right off the coast. It's not going to be a full-fledged nor'easter, but it's going to have the potential for producing some very heavy snow. A lot of that is going to depend on where exactly that low pressure center sets up. If it's further out a little bit, maybe in that snow band could be centered over the I-95 corridor. So New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, and Baltimore could pick up heavy snow depending on where that low pressure sets up and that deformation band sets up. But if the deformation band and that low pressure center is closer to the mainland, it could push that colder air further inland towards the inland sections of the Northeast. So we're talking up through Vermont, New Hampshire, upstate New York, and over western Pennsylvania. Then we'll see heavy rain for Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, and Washington. We'll see rain instead of snow. So it's very iffy. So depending on how and where the storm takes it, so the storm could track across, the storm is tracking across the country. Now mind you, this storm just is currently dumping heavy snow across Arizona right now. So that very storm that's dumping heavy snow across Arizona and Utah is that same storm that's going to be moving out into the plains by Sunday. And Monday, it's going to bring severe thunderstorms from Texas, parts of Oklahoma, but we're also going to see freezing rain and sleet and snow through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Kansas, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Maine, and Rhode Island, Delaware, and into New Jersey possibly as well, is where we could see either freezing rain, sleet, or snow. So the wintry precipitation is also going to accompany this storm system across the country to the East Coast, and depending on where it sets up exactly is where we're going to see that snow. So me personally, I'm leaning away from the heavy snow hitting the big cities. I think that snow band is going to set up more inland, and it's going to probably hit. I think that the Euro is more on point, and I think the GFS will kind of start to agree better as we get closer to that time frame. And this should be coming in around Valentine's Day. So about the 14th, we should have this, maybe about the 12th or the 13th, we'll have much better agreement or much more clarity in where this storm system is going to go. So until then, it's just wishy-washy. One day I run the model, it looks like, okay, it's coming. Then the next day, it's completely different. So there's no model agreement and there's no model consistency from run to run. The Euro has been more consistent, but the GFS has been more wonky and more extreme in its variations. So we're going to work with that right now. So that doesn't lend itself to a confident saying, okay, here, this is what's going to happen. But I've been seeing that depiction in the model, that model solution come and go. So something is going to happen in that corridor next week. But depending on what that's going to be will depend on the model agreement. So, okay? Okay, so the storm strength and snow intensity remain uncertain. So this is the weaker of this is the stronger of the two systems. Remember earlier in the week I said this was a double barrel. There was another part of the storm further to the north, and that is the portion that's bringing severe weather to the upper Midwest. The northern low, there's a northern low along the Canadian border over Minnesota and Iowa and Nebraska. There's another area of low pressure in that region, which is going to be responsible for bringing the potential for severe weather to Chicago and Milwaukee tonight. So, now that weather system will play a role in what happens with the southern stream. The northern stream system will play a role in how the southern stream is set up. So if this system in the north jets out further, hits the east coast faster, that could bring heavier snow inland, but it'll push this one further out to sea, which will minimize the precipitation that the I-95 corridor picks up from this storm system. So these two are going to play tug of war with positioning. And if this system heads more into Canada, so that's going to allow for this system, high pressure out over the Atlantic. So if the Bermuda High expands, gets bigger, comes closer to the U.S., this system will stay closer to the mainland, which will cause that snow band to affect more inland areas. If this system is allowed to meander out further out to sea, further away from the coast, then that snow band could position itself closer to I-95. Here's a look at the GFS. I'm not going to tell you about it and not show you it. This is what the GFS is showing. So this is our storm system right there. We're going to let that play through once again. This is our storm system. This is going to be the Valentine's week storm. All right. So this is the GFS showing that storm. It's also showing that snow as well. And I can't really see the things. The GFS, yeah. No, this one's, okay, so this one is the Euro. Here is the Euro, has that, you see Virginia right there? Virginia. And this is where you can see that vortex right over Virginia and coming up the southeast off of the Appalachian Mountains there, and it goes offshore, and you can see that as it goes offshore, so it's further to the south. But look at the GFS. Now the GFS has a more robust storm system, and it brings it closer. You can see that darkness there. That's that heavy snow over the mid-Atlantic. So this is over DC, Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York City. So you can see that potential that the GFS, and this is the GFS saying that that's that big winter storm, but the Euro says, not so fast. I think this is going to be more further to the south, so it is going to head out to sea more sooner rather than later. So now both models agree that this storm system is going to eventually move away from the U.S. mainland. The biggest difference is when it moves away and things like that. So the Euro has that further to the south, weaker and moving out to sea, while the GFS has a more robust storm system and is closer to the U.S. mainland, hence that winter snow. High pressure over eastern Canada will make a difference, and the northern stream the weak system over the northern stream will also play a role as well, depending on how fast it gets to the northeast and if it can affect the path of that system coming from the southeast. So here are the ice impacts that we're going to see as we head into next week. So we could see, if you get a quarter of an inch or less, this is when you're going to see just some icing on the roadways, light glaze on the trees. Your windshield's going to be coated and things like that. But if you get 1/4 to a 1/2 inch of ice, which is freezing rain or sleet, you're going to see numerous power outages because the precipitation will freeze to the power lines and to tree limbs and make them heavy and will cause them to snap and collapse. So we're going to see tree damage, and we can also see the roads become very slick. And if you get over a 1/2 inch, that's just bad news all the way around. Widespread power outages, trees will come down, and dangerous travel, very impossible to stop, possible to accelerate. It can also lead to slips and falls, so personal injury is going to be numerous cases of personal injury. When you get even a glaze of ice can cause personal injury, slips and falls on walking paths or people walking off their porch. If you have a exposed porch that's open to the elements and it's getting some of that ice in your driveway or your walking path up to your front door, so please be very careful. I have shoes that have spikes on them for ice and things like that. So if you get yourself a pair of shoes, non-slip shoes, boots, don't really matter. That's not going to really help you. So what you need is some shoes that can break through that ice as you step. So you can get you some slip-on ice spikes or shoes that have spikes built into them. So you can check that out for your safety and everything like that. Okay, so now we have an earthquake to talk about. There was an earthquake in Florida, about 101 miles off the coast of Cape Canaveral, and that was 10:48 last night, and that earthquake was of magnitude of 4.0. No damage was reported, no injuries were reported. So yeah, an earthquake in Florida. Yeah, they happen in more than just California, guys, and on the West Coast. All right, so here we are as we're going to take a look at the winter weather across the western United States. And as we look at what we're going to be seeing, we're going to be seeing that snow pretty much all over the Rockies in the interior of the United States here, from Arizona all the way up to Montana, over to Nevada, parts of Oregon and Washington, California. We're going to be seeing snow through New Mexico. We're going to be seeing snow in Colorado, Wyoming, Montana. But we got that rain over in Minnesota and Wisconsin, rain and thunderstorms in the upper Midwest. And we're looking at thunderstorms across the Chicago and Illinois and Indiana as well, and Michigan have that potential for some severe thunderstorms. We are looking at a marginal risk for severe storms, and those threats are going to be primarily damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour, some hail. So we're looking at 3/4 inch hail, and possibility of a weak tornado is also possible. I would never call a tornado weak, but EF0, maybe EF1 tornado is going to be possible. All right, so here is a look at our rainfall